Thank you for tuning into the PPN PrePlan Network, where it's all facts and we do filler at the end. And now for today's host, Higgy.
Welcome to the PPN, where we share the points of the Payday news without all the extras thrown in, where we read and relay Payday information in a concise and clean manner. All opinions in this video will be at the end, so if you do not care for them, they will be easy to avoid.
Makes a good Payday heist, and when you manage to strike that balance of controlling chaos, I think we're starting to find something. So again, this is an attempt to start to get there, and like I said, we're not there yet, and I want to be transparent with that. I'm not going to hype the shit out of it just for the sake of it, but it's been really fun for us as a dev team to do it.
First and foremost, comments on the dev team is told by Andreas. Starbreeze is operating with a smaller team this year. Andreas states that there will be challenges ahead, but with their smaller team comes a closer knit of developers. More hands-on, more communicative, less stress overall. With the sounds of that, it seems morale in the office will no longer just be a legacy feature. Party powder. We won't be covering the heist itself here, since others out there have videos for that, but what we would like to point out is a not so known fact to most, and that is party powder was a playground of sorts to see what assets could be used in different ways from our other heists. So if you see reused assets, it wasn't out of laziness, they are there to test the limits of what can be done. Andreas also went to point out that party powder is simple in its premise compared to other heists in Payday 3, but the more gritty feel that it brings is a nice change to the otherwise clean jobs that we're used to going on. It's time to get a little dirty for our money. Another big talking point for Paydad was player agency. Most heists in Payday 3, as you all may know, have a very linear approach. They never really deviate from their order. As Andreas pointed out, you have 10 objectives, you do them in one order. There might be something optional that you can do. That is not what makes Payday fun. They want heists to feel more free and open to player decision, where we have more control over what is happening inside each heist, be that in a helpful or hurtful way, kind of like how Diamond District is currently. Basically, they want to try and build a more emotional and narrative-weighted heist experience. Give the player something to connect with in heists, instead of just run, shoot, loot. Asked about the future of Payday 3, Andreas mentioned that the dev team is already working on the next heist for the game, and that they have, quote, gotten pretty far into its development. The new heist will feature a lot more random elements in it than the players usually expect. Not limited to just loot, but also random events. Andreas and the dev team are also well aware that Payday 3 has an identity crisis, still trying to find its place in the Payday universe in regards to how the narrative is currently being driven. He agrees that the heists feel too linear and need to have more RNG elements, similar to the two previous entries in the game series. For what those random elements are, Andreas hasn't said too much apart from they're being talked about, and that they want more of what the previous game had. For reference, GoBank's randomized calls, one of which is a blackmailer that threatens to call the cops on the crew unless they receive a bag of money from that heist currently happening. He understands that the soul of Payday 2 and its replayability was a result of the RNG implemented into the heists themselves, and they are trying to find that same soul within Payday 3, stepping back to try and look at the bigger picture of why did people play Payday 2 in the first place? They have constantly been trying to experiment with new things for Payday 3, seeing what works and what doesn't. The current pre-planning asset system feels incredibly weak, with the purchasing, earning, using, and general presentation of them all. Those are all being experimented within the next unnamed heist they are currently working on, such as additional loot pickups or benefits, but with increased risk for said reward, instead of a simple map change amounting to, oh hey, another zipline. Sadly, there is no solid date for this, but Andreas has confirmed the existence of Skills 2.0, a massive rework to the current skill system, the progress on which has been going very well. The new skills that are being added are leaning more towards gameplay archetypes and require less active monitoring to keep the perk alive while in heist, making them more into an action movie set of skills instead of there's only 3 builds that work and you can't change a thing about them. Wrap It Up is the final segment in the news section of PPN. It covers all the things that are important but may not really fit anywhere else at the time of recording. The developers at Starbreeze are trying to create a system that works for both the player and the developer, where the updates will have enough replayability to last until the next update comes out. One of those ideas could possibly be looking to the community for help with upcoming releases. Starbreeze would take a heist or part of a heist and rework it, then let us, the community, run the reworked heist to see if we like the changes or not. The Starbreeze devs are also looking for various routes to give endgame players more reason to come back as well. It is high on their list, and although not much was said with specifics, Andreas mentioned needing reasons to play again, to make sure old players are coming back, want to stay, and most importantly, are happy to stay. This last one I've been watching and waiting for as well. Payday 3 achievements are being discussed within the team, but unfortunately, there is no news about new ones being added at the time of this recording.
Here's a question. Andreas, what's your opinion on set pieces, as in making the main objective tied to the main set piece to give it in its own identity? This was a pretty big aspect in Payday Heist, I feel like. I love that. I think I completely agree with you. From an identity standpoint, Payday Heist is probably the strongest game in the series right now. It felt like every heist was its own movie, which is really strong. For Payday 3, I think we could go on a route where we try to strike a balance of maps that are more like this. They have their identity, they're very open, it's more about just stealing random shit. And then I think eventually we're gonna need those bigger set pieces where you also have a stronger narrative that is really anchored in the experience. One example of that, in Payday 3 at least, is Houston Breakout, right? Where the setting and what you were there for were married in a really strong way, right? Are you guys planning on bringing more RNG options to already existing heists? Very good question. I love that question. We don't have any plans to do it yet, but this is something. It's something that I'm very keen on doing. I think I think a lot of the core heists in Payday 3 are suffering from not being replayable enough, and Payday is it's a grind game. You replay over and over. It becomes less of an issue the more heists you put into the game, but still you replay most of the heists a lot of times. So I think there is a strong case for revisiting base game heists, inject wrenches and random events to them to increase the value of the base game.
I like that question from Helgost here, saying, do you have plans to change the asset system? It would be nice if we didn't get them for completing levels, but for C-stacks. This would solve the problem of getting assets and the fact that C-stacks has nowhere to go.
What do you mean with assets?
For favors when you
go
to heists.
The favors. Sorry, can you repeat the question, Elizabeth?
Yeah, no, that's fine. Do you have plans to, it's this one, the change the asset system, so the favor system. It would be nice to, basically people are looking for a way to be able to buy them instead of needing to grind a level and then hoping that the one they want drops.
Yeah. There is a current discussion within a part of the team right now what to do with favors, because we agree it's a problem.
Yeah.
We have been talking about moving them to the vendors. So that might be a thing. I think like favors and pre-planning in general is something that would benefit from a an improvement, a massive improvement. Not just in the way you purchase them and how you get them and the presentation. I think our pre-planning assets in general, they feel weak, and it's not. It doesn't feel like you're making a. When you add a pre-planning assets, it doesn't feel like you're making a calculated choice. You just add it and that's it. Like, you're not feeling anything. What about AI crew? Because it's a massive part of solo play and it's bad and need work. I agree with you. It's not something we're working on currently. Again, like I said, we are a smaller team this year. We're trying to really prioritize boldly. But what I can do is acknowledge the problem. I agree. There's a lot of people playing solo, and I think we could even potentially do some small things. And I mean, we've seen that in some of the Payday 3 mods. We can do some small things to just improve that solo experience quite a lot. So we'll see when.
See some questions not related to this heist, but any news about the secret on First World Bank?
Not yet. Maybe soon.
We're excited.
Hi Andreas, can you talk about VoIP and push to talk, and when did you plan to implement it into the game? Very good question. It should have been there when we released VoIP. I can't give you a date. What I can say is on the development side, push to talk is currently working, so we have been working on it. The things that we have left are some design related questions, just regarding flow of muting and stuff like that, but it's pretty far along. So I think you can expect it in a fairly near future update. Not this update, but again, it's not a on the table item. It's being worked on, and it's functional.
Well, is there any news regarding letting players choose their own loud/stealth modifiers? There's a survey that I went out a long time ago that asked if players wanted it.
Yeah. So, like Elizabeth said, we made a survey. I think that was end of last year, right?
Yeah, something like that. It's been a while.
Yeah, just asking general questions around modifiers, because there has been a lot of feedback.
Yeah.
What we have landed in, sort of, I think that's what we're gravitating towards, at least, from a design point of view. There is no implementation started yet, but from a design point of view, based on the feedback that you guys have given, is that you want to be able to choose your own modifiers. I think that's the right approach. I think that approach is in line with how we want Payday 3 to be played in general. Like I said, we should gravitate more towards player agency, and I think having that choice connected to modifiers would be good.
It's an interesting one there from Rag on Twitch as well, as saying, should we expect a new difficulty and a redesign of special units? Some of them do not have the time to use their equipment and walk around the map as walking targets.
Good question.
I mean, there's been some balancing changes, I believe, already in this update, right?
Yeah. I think the game would... it would add value for veteran players to have a new difficulty. I do think before we do that, you need a reason to play the game. Again, so going back to creating a stronger incentive for you guys to grind. So, a new difficulty might be a follow-up to that. But if we would add a new difficulty today without having stronger reasons to play, I think it could fall flat. So it might be just a natural evolution of fixing that problem first. Obviously, like I mentioned, we are working on a skills revamp, and since we're doing a skills revamp, that means we have to do some changes to difficulty. Not a new difficulty, but there will be some changes there, just to balance things properly, but also maybe spice some things up. Are there any plans on bringing back pre-planning menu of some kind? Not at the moment. I do think it's an important part of, if we would do a pre-planning overhaul. I think presentation is a big part of it. So you really get the feeling of, stepping into a planning table or whatnot. What we're starting with is making sure that pre-planning assets feel more meaningful when you use them. So again, in the next heist, not this one, but one after, we're doing some experimentation around that. If that's a direction that you guys like, it's something that we're going to continue with for future heists, and that might mean, looking at pre-planning in general, but no commitment right now. There's something I want to say, but I'm not really supposed to, but I'm probably gonna say it anyway.
Ooh.
You guys have been asking about skills. There's a lot of feedback around the skills system. We have talked about doing a skills revamp, and we're actually doing it.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, there you go. Skills 2.0 is a thing. It's progressing very well. Generally, what we're doing with new skills is we're leaning more into archetypes, less constant upkeep, more action movie-like stuff. I'm not going to confirm a date for it yet, but it's moving along nicely. I think that's going to be a massive boost for the game, not just for you guys who are veterans, but also for casual players. I mean, we want more players in the game, and the new system is going to strike a good balance between, just feeling more powerful, things being more visualized, and more fun. As simple as that.
That concludes this evening's news broadcast with your host, Csipez. We hope you have enjoyed watching the PPN, PrePlan Network. We will see you out there, heisters.